One of the most misunderstood aspects about the food we eat every day is where it comes from. Produce you consume all the time has been genetically modified and counts under the Food and Drug Administration and World Health Organization as a GMO food. GMOs aren't lab rat foods though. Did you know that we wouldn't have modern corn, canola oil, or soybeans without genetic modification? GMOs are even prevalent among tomatoes, apples, and strawberries. We visited some local farms and vineyards to learn more about the effect of GMOs.
So GMOs are interesting, to us. They can be scary, but in fact, each one of us is a GMO. So we are all genetically modified organisms. So, and I think that brings a lot of scariness to people because they just don't understand the genetic level. We can't see the genes; they're small. We can see a carrot, we can see a strawberry, but we can't see the genes of those, and so it becomes a kind of a scary thing of what we don't know. Common that we drink. Big Napa cabs are consumed all the time as trophy wines. And so again, this is a genetically modified organism. We just didn't do it at the genetic level, at the gene level, but we certainly did it in the field. And we've been doing this for many, many years. Strawberries, in fact, didn't start out of these big, huge things. Birds, grabbed the biggest berry they could out of preservation because that was the food they got. Those seeds spread, and eventually the strawberries got bigger and bigger. And we found out how to breed bigger and bigger vegetables, fruits, and get more production out of it. So we've been modifying organisms for a long, long time. And this is a very common one. So they're not something to be scared of. They're something to be researched. They're something to be looked at, and really educate yourself on what these organisms are, what we're putting in our body.
I think one of the misconceptions, largest misconception, is that the use of GMOs is going to result in more food production and is going to feed the world more effectively. But I think that the research behind that is probably skewed and mostly paid for by the same companies that are selling the seeds to the farmers. I'm suspicious of any research that has come out around GMOs currently, and again, getting back to the funding and who's actually doing the researching behind that. But also, I don't know that we will see any bad effects of GMOs for years ahead. So I think it's a really risky endeavor that we're going into on a massive scale for something that people know very little of.
I think a lot of people think that they can get in any kind of food. There's really not that much variety of GMO foods right now. The main crops that are used as GMOs are mainly like grain crops, like corn, soybeans, cotton, wheat. But really the only way you're going to avoid GMOs, if you're trying to avoid them, is to buy certified organic. Well, as an organic farmer, the whole philosophy for me is to try to work with nature instead of battling against nature. So we take into account all the natural systems that are going on the farm, between the soil, the living organisms in the soil. We're not trying to kill them. We're actually trying to create a very balanced and healthy soil. There are pesticides that are certified organic that we can use. So that's a little misconception too, that, organic farmers just don't use pesticides. There are pesticides that can be used, but they're all derived from naturally occurring either plants or mined products that break down really quickly in the environment. But the fact of the matter is that 90% of all GMOs used in the United States are used combining genes from completely different sources, not from even potentially the plant kingdom, to produce resistance to herbicides. I mean, I'm doing what I'm doing because I care about what I eat. I grew up in the middle of conventional farming in the Central Valley, and I saw a lot of pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, being used. And personally, I made a choice that I don't want to be consuming that. You're actually potentially consuming more pesticides in the food you're eating because you're not paying attention to whether it's grown with GMOs or not.
We decided to perform a statistical analysis test to see if there was a difference in GMO knowledge between Safeway shoppers and Trader Joe's shoppers. We made this quiz to test knowledge of GMOs. Our null hypothesis was that there is no difference between the two stores, and our alternative hypothesis was that there was.
Probably the watermelon.
The watermelon?
Yeah.
I cannot tell.
You can't tell?
May I guess?
Yeah, you can guess. Yeah, of course.
I'll go with the banana.
The banana?
Either one of those means, but if I were to guess,
Yeah, just off the top of your head.
this one.
That one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of a trick question. These two are actually the only all-natural ones.
I would say tomato.
Uh-huh.
I would say strawberry.
Uh-huh.
So we
Yeah.
said the same thing. So what's the truth?
Yes.
Say the banana.
That one?
Yeah?
Yeah?
Do you have a guess?
The tomato.
The tomato? Yeah, you guys are actually correct there. These
Yes!
Then
ones are.
proceeded to perform a two-sample t-test on our two populations, where the null hypothesis of the true mean score of Safeway shoppers is equal to that of Trader Joe shoppers. We fulfilled all the necessary conditions: independent, simple random samples, 10% rule, that there are more than 350 shoppers at Trader Joe's and Safeway individually, and large counts, since our sample at each store was greater than 30.
In a total of 35 survey shoppers at Safeway, we found that the average score out of 4 was 1.89, which varied by about 1.41 points. In a total of 35 survey shoppers at Trader Joe's, we found that the average score out of 4 was 2.11 points, which varied by about 1.45 points.
Our calculated test statistic was p equals 0.5060, which is significantly greater than our expected alpha, equaling 0.05. So we failed to reject our null hypothesis. Therefore, there is no evidence of a difference in knowledge about GMOs between Trader Joe's and Safeway shoppers that can't be attributed to chance.
People aren't interested in becoming experts on it, right? Nobody has time for that, so they're not going to, and so they'll, take what they hear from a friend casually, or what they see on a social media post, or a meme, or some headline that's on the news that's totally taken out of context.
Which is why everybody should take an advanced biology class.
They should. Right, they should know their genetics.
You take AP or environmental science and
Or-
learn about the
right.
evils of Monsanto.
Or at the very least, trust experts. You don't have to. I don't understand physics, and I don't pretend to understand physics or challenge physics. I let the experts or the people who understand it speak to it, and I don't, just because I don't understand, I don't challenge it.
But I think also too, if you're trusting the experts, much of the research on GMOs is funded by Monsanto. So you have to look at the funding behind the research to see if you can really trust it.